We turn back to the big story of the day. It's the exclusive interview in the Sun newspaper, and I know that some of you may think, are we still talking about Phillip Schofield? But yes, we are, because he's revealed yet more details about it. We do have ITV senior executives being hauled in front of Parliament. Next week, Dame Carolyn McCall, who's the chief executive. Let's not forget, by the way, £3.5 million she gets paid a year to do that job. But are they still going to be in their jobs after all of this? All of them clutching at straws. Question is whether or not Phillip Schofield can make a return after all of this. I'm broken and ashamed, but not a groomer, he says on the front page of The Sun. Let's find out, though, whether this story really does have continued traction. Alex Farber is media correspondent with The Times. Joins me now. Alex, morning.
Morning there.
So, look, Phillip Schofield, he's now spoken for the first time. I'm sort of surmising that this is all a little bit too soon for him to speak. He probably should have let the dust settle, because he's now opened up more cans of worms and there are more questions than there are answers.
Well, I think with all the, huge amounts of tabloid speculation and reports that have been out there, I think he was probably keen to get his side of the story out and put out there what he feels to be the truth.
You say that, but until or unless the other party involved in all of this, i.e. the individual who was employed, and then, of course, their on-off thing, whatever you want to call it, relationship or trysts or however, until we hear his side of it, this doesn't clear up, does it?
Well, Phillip has repeatedly insisted that the young man does not want to speak out. He's hired legal representation for him, and through those channels it's also been made clear that the individual concerned isn't interested in telling his side of the story. I mean, my understanding is he's quite a vulnerable person, and I'm not sure that he is open to the kind of media attention that this kind of story inevitably is bringing.
What pressure does this put on ITV? So ITV, of course, are being accused of knowing that things were taking place, but they didn't take action because this was one of their big stars. This is forever the complaint and the criticism of media organisations, and particularly given what's happened elsewhere. I mean, look, the BBC, the mantle of holding the scandal within an organisation was very much held by them and less so by ITV, but it looks as if ITV wants to have a go at it.
Well, look, I mean, ITV, for its part, has said it investigated the rumours when they first surfaced in 2019, 2020. They were denied by both parties. They talked to staff members who also didn't have any evidence beyond rumour and speculation. They also investigated them as recently as this month when they were again denied. So from ITV's point of view, the questions that Dame Carolyn faces are certainly, and the MPs you mentioned are exploring this, will certainly be how hard did it investigate? What sort of protection did it offer potential witnesses? Did it really conduct a thorough investigation? It's hired an independent KC, a lawyer, to probe these, to have a look at its processes, what it did, and not only look at the incident that we're talking about today, but also really get to the bottom of whether ITV's duty of care processes are fit for purpose.
It might be unfair for me to ask, Alex, whether you think anybody at ITV should lose their jobs over this. Do you think, though, that they will?
Well, I think it's unlikely that Dame McCall will lose her job. It feels like something that's slightly taking place below her sort of seniority. There is question marks for those closer to daytime programming, perhaps. Often in these kinds of cases, deputy heads do roll. Programme editor Martin Frizzell, Emma Gormley, the head of daytime. These are the kinds of individuals that people have been speculated whether there's any risk for them. I guess a lot will hinge on the MP's inquiry with Dame Carolyn on June the 14th, and also, perhaps more pertinently, on ITV's internal investigation and whether that uncovers any evidence of wrongdoing or cover-up that make it feel like it has to act.
Alex Farber, media correspondent at The Times, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Talk. It's much appreciated. Meanwhile, let's get back to Charlie Rowley, former government special advisor. Look, there is an element of this that, look, we have a sort of fevered speculation. There's a huge amount of press coverage. Regardless of what happened or what didn't happen and the pressures here, When you are at the centre of a massive media storm like this, the pressures, and let's not forget the pressure. So Phillip Schofield clearly looking broken. He will need support. The individual concerned will need support. We certainly don't want a repeat of other situations, do we? As you know, people and commentators, we need to be mindful of that, don't we?
I think we do, and I think that support should be ongoing now, which is why I still think it might be a little bit too soon for Phillip to come out and give the interview that he has. You can only do this once. You know, it's a one-off exclusive. You can't retell your story again. You can't keep coming out and trying to explain, which is why I think, look, when MPs are now going to quiz people like Dame Carolyn McCall and ITV bosses, that would help move the story along a bit, and he could then come out a little bit later to have the final say. So I think it might have just, you know, the horse might have bolted slightly early in this interview, but you're absolutely right. When people are in the public eye, you don't want to wake up every day, day after day, week after week with your face splashed across every front page of national newspapers. You don't want all the speculation online. It can be tough, so you're absolutely right. There does need to be that support for people that are in the eye of the storm.
It does look like he has perhaps spoken too soon, and this may be seen perhaps as an error or a mistake in time, but we will find out in due course. We'll take more of your calls on this. Charlie, for now, thank you.